I'm here at the Jacksonville National Cemetery, where an American flag was placed by each and every one of these markers. Now, today is a day for remembering service members who are no longer with us. But some First Coast veterans say it's also important to remember those that are still here. From combat to coffee. Army veteran John Drexel still carries the scars from his time in Afghanistan and Iraq. Not so much on his body, but in his head.
It really can kind of mess with your mind, honestly. With PTSD and stuff like that, a lot of those problems can compound and cause other problems.
After coming back to the United States, he had trouble finding a job.
My biggest challenge was basically feeling aimless.
He's now a barista at Social Grounds in Jacksonville, where owner Jason Kellaway says every cup of coffee sold raises money to help veterans like him.
Our goal is to help veterans that are transitioning through tough times.
He's no stranger to those. When he left the military, he ended up homeless.
I slept in my car for about a year and a half, and so I had to transition through that, so I wanted to help myself in order to help other people.
He does that by hiring people like Drexel.
It's like a healthy, stable environment.
Now, instead of feeling aimless, he has a routine, and when he needs it, a support system from friends who know exactly what he's going through.
It's comforting, and I feel like I'm part of a family.
To learn more about how you can help First Coast veterans through Social Grounds, just go to our website, firstcoastnews.com. Tonight at 6, I'll introduce you to a woman named Lamyra Hinson, who came here today to visit her husband, Willie. She has an important message for families all over the First Coast. Eric Alvarez, First Coast News, on your side.